We have an NHL trade to discuss between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Vegas Golden Knights. Goaltender Garrett Sparks on his way to Vegas, and David Clarkson's returning to Toronto. We'll get into all the details and explain this coming up next. So welcome back to Top Shelf Hockey. We have some breaking news from the NHL with a trade going down between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs are sending goaltender Garrett Sparks over to Vegas in exchange for the David Clarkson contract, so it returns to Toronto where it originally started in a 2020 fourth round selection. So just hearing that trade, it might sound a little bit weird, and you might be asking yourself, why would this happen? Obviously, as we know, the Maple Leafs were not pleased with Garrett Sparks as the backup goaltender last year. He didn't really do the greatest, and down the stretch into the playoffs, they called up Michael Hutchinson from the American Hockey League to take over the backup role into the most critical time of the season. And Garrett Sparks was essentially, done for the year. And we also seen here recently that they've invited goaltender Michael Neuwirth to training camp on a professional tryout. We just got done discussing in another video in the last day here what the Leafs were going to do with their backup goaltending situation. Obviously with Sparks, Hutchinson, and now Neuwirth in the picture. And now we have a little bit more of a clear idea. Obviously Sparks is not going to be part of that long-term picture, which really doesn't come at any surprise. So he goes over to Vegas. Vegas sends the Clarkson contract to the Leafs, and in exchange for them taking that contract, they get a 2020 fourth round selection. Now obviously Vegas needs the cap space. The Leafs also need space as well, so this might seem weird from that perspective, but Vegas gets rid of the Clarkson contract. Instead of using long-term injury reserve, they get that off their books. They also signed Derek Englund to a one-year contract. That's been rumored for about 2 or 3 weeks now, that we had heard that he had agreed to terms on a one-year contract, but we've never seen an announcement. Obviously, they were just waiting to get under the cap in order to make that happen. So that's now official, so they're able to accomplish that while taking on Sparks as well. So now they have 3 goaltenders in their system with Fleury, Subban, and Sparks amongst the others that they have in the minor leagues. So obviously there could be additional moves coming from Vegas. It's really hard to say. I'm not really sure how they feel about everything, and maybe they'll go into camp and figure things out, or maybe we'll see a move ahead of time. But obviously for the time being, Vegas gets some much needed cap space, gets Englund under contract, so that's resolved. On the Leafs side, now they're over the cap officially. Obviously they get rid of Sparks, but they take on that Clarkson contract. Now basically what they're planning to do is this is going to allow the Maple Leafs to go over the salary cap by over $10 million, because now they have Nathan Horton and David Clarkson, and they can put on long-term injury reserve once the season gets underway. So this is obviously, the Leafs are a team with deep pockets. They have no issues when it comes to money, and this is going to allow them to really spend well over the cap to get their roster in order. Of course, they still get the Mitch Marner contract to look after. We've heard some rumblings that they might not be done completely assembling their roster besides that as well. So obviously this doesn't get Marner signed yet, but maybe there's some steps in the right direction. Maybe they have a clearer picture of what that number needs to be, so they're in the process of figuring things out here. Hard to say, but really from Kyle Dubas and the Maple Leafs perspective, I think this is a really genius move in order to allow the deep pocket team like the Leafs to be able to spend well over the cap here, while at the same time, completing their roster. They move Sparks along, they get a pick in return, and at the same time, they, pick up the Clarkson contract where it began, so they can spend well over. So honestly, I like this move for both clubs. I really think it helps Vegas get cap compliant for right now. It doesn't help the Leafs cap compliant now, but it'll help them spend well above the cap once the season gets underway. So I know it might seem a little bit confusing, but honestly, it's a brilliant move by the Leafs, and it helps Vegas out as well. So for the most part, I guess we'll see long-term who wins, but for right now, I think we can say it's a pretty even, somewhat complicated, interesting trade. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, and we'll continue discussing this deal. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.